Hi, welcome everyone. I am David Whitaker, the Communications Chair for our Equality Employee Network, whose mission is to foster a safe, inclusive, and supportive work environment for all employees. Before we get started, I wanted to share a little bit about the importance of this day. It all started back in 1987, after the second annual National March on Washington for Lesbian and Gay Rights. A group of activists and thought leaders got together to try to find ways to break down stereotypes and negativity. And that's when Robert Eichberg and Jean O'Leary thought of the idea to create a day to celebrate coming out, to encourage LGBT folks to share their story. It started small in October 11th, 1988, with stickers and buttons, and then eventually grew to a nationwide campaign. So today I want to share a coming out story, after getting his permission, of an employee who recently came out in India. The day after Section 377 was abolished, he sent this email to his team. It was met with encouragement, praise, kudos, thanks, and lots of positivity. But then there was this one. So why is it that we talk about this at work? Well, work isn't a place that we just go in our office or cube and shut the world out. We are social creatures that require belonging and understanding. We know that to get things done at work, we need to collaborate, network, and build relationships. So there's this person that we are and the persona that we project in order to fit in. It's this persona that makes us say spouse instead of husband, that makes us not want to share our family pictures for fear of judgment that our kids are being raised by two moms, or just avoid social situations altogether. So this disconnect creates a misalignment, not unlike your car wheels when they go out of alignment. And that misalignment requires energy to drive correctly. Just like this persona that you're covering requires energy that you could use instead to partner or execute or innovate. But when these two things are aligned and you can bring your authentic self to work, it will break down barriers, build authentic relationships, and ultimately make you a more productive and happy employee. It is my great pleasure to introduce our guest speaker. She is a national soccer player and human rights activist. Today, she will share her inspiring life journey and tell us about the power that comes by allowing yourself to embrace your true beauty. Please help me give a warm welcome to Joanna Lohman.
You can be amazing, you can turn a phrase into a weapon or a drug. You can be the outcast, you can be the backlash of somebody's lack of love.
Great music choice.
Or you start speaking up. Nothing's gonna hurt you.
We're good. Yeah, no, I was hoping to come out with, rainbow lasers and smoke, but that was even better than I expected. Happy National Coming Out Day to everyone. Thank you for showing up today, and to everyone who's watching from their desk. I can't see you, but I appreciate you. Since I wasn't able to walk out with the rainbow lasers and the smoke, I wanted to show a short highlight video of my career. I think I've scored about 6 goals in my career, so get ready to watch all of them in one video. Here we go.
God, what a ball. Lohman, goal, spirit. Little third-person pass there between Dunn and Lohman. And there it is, ball, and it's a 2-1 game.
Great combination play by the Spirit to get inside the box. That's where their goal's going to have to come from. They did.
'Cause for all we know, this could be the last night of our
What a ball by Dunn! Look at that! And the finish by Lohman. Dunn with yet another assist, and Washington is on the board. That was nifty.
That was really hard work for Crystal Dunn trying to go against Klingenberg.
Lohman comes out off the post and across the line.
You know, I think I've seen that video about 20 times and it never gets old. I'm like, who is that player? She's good. You know, it's such a joy and an honor to be here today. I had planned a lot of what I wanted to present to you guys, and I always want to relate to whatever audience I speak to, and I always want to make all of you feel something, right? As Maya Angelou said, people forget what you say, people will forget what you do, but they'll never forget how you made them feel. And you know, I prepared, I had this entire presentation, and this past weekend, I had the pleasure of seeing Billie Jean King speak. How many of you know Billie Jean King? Okay, good, I don't need a history lesson. She was accepting an award for her work in the LGBTQ field. And she stood up, and of course I was fangirling over Billie Jean King because she's one of the most influential humans and has really made me who I am today. And she stood up and she held the award and she said, "We stand on the shoulders of the generations that come before us. One by one, we stand on one another's shoulders and we have social progress. And for centuries we've been doing this." And that hit me deep. And I was like, yes, Billie. What an amazing visual to think about. Someone standing on our shoulders, the person beneath holding the weight of the person above so they can reach higher. And I thought about, my talk, the power of visibility. And I said to myself, that is the power of visibility, right? Is being brave enough to stand for something and then being brave enough to hold somebody else on your shoulders. Someone coming behind you that needs a little bit more courage, a little bit more help. Someone who isn't as brave. Someone who is a younger generation who needs a little bit more support to be uplifted. And you put them on your shoulders and you raise them higher. And thank you to Billie Jean King for being such a beautiful example of this, and for reminding me that in order to share my story today and to really explain the heights that I've been able to reach, I have to tell you guys the shoulders that I have been standing on. So it all started in 1999. Take you guys on a little soccer history lesson. In 1999, there was a Women's World Cup final. It was in the Rose Bowl out here in California. Really, this wasn't possible without Billie Jean King. This wasn't possible without Title IX. And we had a group of empowered women who sold out the Rose Bowl for the World Cup final against China, all because of their own work, basically. And we get to the final minutes. It's a tied. The game is tied. We go into penalty kicks. The game is still tied. And as many of you know, Brianna Scurry, who is currently my assistant coach for the Washington Spirit, she comes up and she makes this incredible save on a penalty kick for a player against China. She is so frickin' pumped. And then we have Brandi Chastain, who steps up to take the winning kick. If she makes the kick, they win the World Cup. So Brandi takes the kick, she makes it, she rips off her shirt, she runs around, and you have this iconic photo, the cover of Sports Illustrated. And then the team went on to be on the cover of Time magazine, and it really revolutionized women's soccer almost overnight. They were famous, they were on all of the television shows, and one of the cool things that the team got to do was they got to go to the White House after they won the World Cup. I'm from Bethesda, Maryland, so close to the White House, and they invited some youth players to come and greet the team. I was about 17 at the time, and I remember, like it was yesterday, seeing Mia Hamm and Brady Chastain and Brianna Scurry walk off that bus, and to see how beloved they were, to watch them, greet the president. I knew in that moment that that's exactly who I wanted to be when I grew up. And luckily for me, as time went on, there was a professional league. We're currently in our 3rd professional league. We've had 2 failed leagues. And in 2015, we'll fast forward a little bit, we had another World Cup. And I was invited back to the White House to watch one of the games, the United States games, with some of the youth players in Maryland. So it was an incredible feeling for me that, my whole career had come full circle, essentially. I was 17, I was in the White House, I was looking at these people that I admired and I respected and I wanted to be them. And then I got to come back and I was that person. And I was a professional athlete. I had achieved my dreams. And I realized, how privileged I was to really have that experience and to have that moment. And, I really want to explain to you guys now in 2018, at 36 years old, I'm currently the oldest field player in the National Women's Soccer League. Most people retire early 30s, and I'm still going at the age of 36. And I can guarantee you that the reason I'm still playing is not because of the goals that I've scored. I know I have a highlight tape, but I've scored very few goals. It's not because of the championships that I've won. I've lost every single title game I've been in. I've been in 3 of them. It's not because of the health of my career. I've had 2 surgeries. I've had back surgery. I tore my ACL in 2017. I'm just coming back from that. And it's not because of all the minutes I've played. I've spent years where I've sat on the bench where I haven't even stepped on the field for games in a row. I want to show you a video now that can give you an idea of why I play this game and why playing a professional sport is such a platform to make an impact. So cue the video. 1999. That was the year the women's national team won the World Cup against China. Brianna Scurry makes the winning save. Brady Chastain hit the winning PK, rips off her shirt, sports bra, and it was almost overnight fame for the women's national team.
My t-shirt.
Yep. I was 17 years old. The entire women's national team came to visit the president, and they invited a lot of youth soccer players to come too. So I got to attend and meet all the national team players at the White House. And that was a moment where I thought to myself, this is what I want to do with my life. My name's Joanna Lohman, and I'm a midfielder for the Washington Spirit.
Team midfielder Joanna Lohman!
The collective attitude in our league is fantastic. We're all doing it for the love of the sport. We're clearly not doing it for the financial rewards, not really for the fame, the fortune. So it's a really close-knit group of people, and it's family, so to say. I think it's a personal choice, but I know that it's important to me to be out because although it's so safe to be gay in women's soccer in the United States, it's not safe across the board in this country. So I want to stand up and be counted for the community because I still think it's so important. It's unparalleled, really, as a pro athlete. You have people that come to your games, that watch you, that really adore you, that look up to you, especially as an LGBT athlete and a sport that has so many LGBT fans. They see me out in the field working. I'm proud of who I am on the field, off the field, and that gives them a little bit more confidence to be who they are. And for me, I think that's the biggest impact I could ever make. I'm very proud of the way I look, and I do realize that it's quite extreme at moments. I do get mistaken for a boy sometimes. But the most important thing for me is expanding expectations and thoughts on what a woman should look like. I do it for someone who comes behind me that may look similar to me. They won't get the same questions or the same stares. Some people work in offices where they can't dress a certain way or look a certain way, and you kind of have to mute it. But for me, it's like I can be unabashedly myself. What you see is what you get, and my hair matches my lifestyle, it matches my personality. I know I'm very lucky to be able to do that, and I hope that inspires others to do the same.
It's a mohawk, and I like it because my favorite player on the Washington Spirit is Joanna Lohman, and she has a mohawk, so I do too. I don't necessarily believe in failure. I think there's challenges and there's setbacks, and failures are something that you learn from. When I did not make the World Cup team, I came home and I saw my dad. The first thing I did, I just broke down and I started crying. Who am I now? You know, I'm not going to be a World Cup player. I'm not a national team player, so how do I define myself now? You can realize that's just a stepping stone to who I want to be or what I want to become. You know, most people would view that as a failure. I think it just pushed me to be a better player. Success is being your best every single day.
Hey, no pushing, no pushing.
Last season during the Women's World Cup,
everybody.
the United States women's national team was playing Nigeria, and the White House invited the Washington Spirit to watch the game.
Hey, who's this one?
I got to stand up in front of a group of youth soccer players and say, I was sitting right where you guys were sitting, in front of Mia Hamm, Brittany Chastain, Brian Ascuri, and they were telling me to work hard at what you believe in, and I did it. You know, I am a living, breathing example of what can happen if you work hard. You can actually achieve your dreams.
So, yeah, another really cool video that I truly adore. And I think you see from that my career has really, it's evolved. It's no longer about how many goals I can score or how many minutes I can play. I now have a platform. I now have shoulders that are strong enough that somebody else can stand on them. And to be able to go to work every single day, do what I love, and I am adored for being 100% of who I am. I am celebrated for being visible, for being out. And I realize I'm so lucky to be able to do that. And I have such an incredible platform now to help people who come behind me to feel more comfortable in their own skin. So now when I come to work every single day, I come to work not to kick a ball, but I come to work to show that love is love. And that being different is not dangerous. And that being comfortable in your own skin does not mean you have to look like every other person. You can be yourself. And it's taken me a really long time to get to this point. You know, I wasn't born with this mohawk. I have really struggled to figure out who I am today. And that struggle is something that I want to tell you guys about today. I want to talk to you about the journey of coming out, because coming out is not about saying necessarily I'm gay. Yes, I am gay. That's one dimension of what I believe is a very multi-dimensional person. And everybody in this audience has so many dimensions. Coming out is accepting and loving yourself for all of those dimensions, and ones that we know and still need a lot of work. I am imperfect. I am human. I still have ways I need to develop and grow. But coming out is saying that standing in front of you today with this mohawk, with my muscles, with the way that I express myself and my gender and my identity is a thing of beauty. And I hope that you guys, when you walk out of this auditorium, you feel proud of who you are and you feel more inspired to be unabashedly yourself. Because I said in that video, success is being your best every single day. And to be your best every single day, you truly have to love yourself. And you have to love the people around you. And you have to understand that the more visible we are and the more that we love ourselves, the stronger these shoulders get to really lift one another up. So I'll take you through my coming out story, because it's National Coming Out Day. And I always chuckle when people ask, what is your coming out story? Because coming out is not just one story. I think we all have that moment where, yes, we admitted to ourselves that, we were gay. But when I was flying here from Washington, D.C., I could identify at least 5 moments where I felt like I came out. And I think coming out it's a daily choice in the morning that you make, that you're going to live true to your beliefs, that you are going to be yourself and you're going to be proud to be yourself. So as I was thinking about these 5 moments, it was cool for me because I'm looking back on my life and I'm seeing myself grow and develop, and I'm seeing all of the growing pains that I had. There were so many moments where I felt I had to bend my body and break my soul to fit in these restrictive boxes that society gives us as realistic options for identity. Was I feminine enough? Who was I? I was an athlete. I was a female athlete, but I'm a daughter, I'm a sister, I'm an aunt, I'm a gay woman. And how do you really express all that you are? Because people only see the surface. And it's important to understand that beauty runs so deep into our souls. And until we are willing to see one another and listen to one another, we won't see that beauty. But my coming out story started, believe it or not, I was not gay out of the womb. It started in my senior year of college. I was engaged to a very nice man. His name was Brooks. I had long hair. Was coming off a great 4-year career at Penn State University. I was nominated for all the top awards. I did well academically, and ideally speaking, I had everything. I was engaged to be married. We were going to have the kids, the 2.3 kids, the white picket fence, the single-family home. I had what every woman wanted. And it wasn't until I had my first experience with a woman, and forgive me, this is not her, but just a friend of mine, that I realized, my life had a different story to tell. And, I often joke and I tell people that I think I got hit by the gay stick, because as soon as that happened, I knew that this was the life that I was supposed to lead. So I was engaged at the time. I gave the ring back and I just said, I'm so sorry, I can't get married. It was a very difficult moment for me, but it still felt like it was a freeing experience because I felt very stifled in this relationship. And then you gradually have to accept who you are and then share it with your family and your friends. This takes some time. And I distinctly remember going for a walk with my mom, and I'm very close with my mother, so she was asking some questions. This was when I was back living at home, and she asked if one of my friends, who was a woman who I was dating, had a crush on me. And I said, I think she does, Mom. And she said, well, do you have feelings for her? And I said, I think I do, Mom. So that was essentially me, coming out to my mother. And I went on to explain that I felt physiologically my body reacted differently to a woman than it did a man. I didn't tell my father yet, and that was always a more difficult conversation for me. But I think my mom, clued in my dad, and I was sitting in my bed one night and he walked in and he was sobbing. I think for them, they did not understand because I was doing a complete 180. Here I was, engaged to this guy, and now I'm coming out as gay. And I think my dad felt like he was losing me. He didn't understand. We had a great conversation, but again, I think parents, especially for their children, have a vision of what your life is going to be. They have a vision of who you're going to be. And when you come out as gay, your parents essentially have to mourn the death of who they thought you were going to be. And so do you. You have to really adjust. And I think it takes people time. It takes time to understand, it takes time to accept, and it takes time to really move with you into this new life. Credit to my parents, they took it in stride. They did the best that they could, and so did my friends. So really, I came flying out of the closet. I jumped right into that lifestyle, and I started to really go on a journey of self-discovery, exploration, and figuring out exactly who I was. This was 2004. So 2004, to give you some more history, the first ever women's professional soccer league, it folded. It went bankrupt. So I was supposed to come out. I was going to go into the draft. I was going to be drafted, and that league folded. So I had to figure out plan B. I decided to go play overseas. I went and I played in Sweden. So when I played in Sweden, I decided, this is time to reinvent myself. How do I continue to figure out who I am? Not just on the inside, but really start to express that on the outside. So that was the first time I cut my hair. As you could see before, I had really long hair. I decided to just cut it all off. I thought this is a good time to do it. And I still, was really struggling and to figure out who I was. I often found myself in relationships. I think more because I felt like I should. And I felt always very stifled in these relationships. Like I wasn't able to express my freedom. I wasn't able to really have my own independence. So I struggled. I struggled for years, and I traveled the world, and I played soccer professionally. I barely made any money. I was living out of a bag. I played on 6 different teams in 6 years. Ended up in Japan, Spain, Sweden, Cyprus, and was pretty much a serial monogamist. And it wasn't until 2014 I was engaged again to another woman, where that relationship fell apart. I was playing in Boston. The breakup couldn't have been any worse. It was a really toxic environment for me, and I felt like, this is my low point. This is my low point in my journey so far, and I knew at that moment I needed to go home. And I'd been playing all over the world, all over the country for 10 years, and I thought to myself, I need to set down some roots. I need to find myself. So I decided in 2014 that I was going to leave Boston and come back to Washington, D.C. I essentially told the team I'd play for like a Chipotle burrito and extra guac, and that was my contract, and I came back to DC. And that was the best decision that I think I've ever made, because I was free from that relationship. I was out of the toxic environment, and I came home to a place where I knew I was loved. I knew I was accepted. I was standing on my own 2 feet finally after years of being in relationships, and I was ready really to be the next level Joe. So we had Joe before, and this was like Joe times 10. And I cut my hair again, and my hair got its own nickname called the Joe Hawk. So we went from the Mohawk to the Joe Hawk, and I felt like the Joe Hawk was like my internal spirit out on my head. And I was then able to start cutting it into different designs. And the designs really was a creative way for me to display what my thoughts were, what my ideas were, what my beliefs were. I started to really start to thrive on the field and off. In 2016, I was tied for the second leading goal scorer. We made it to the championship game. I was at a point where most people are stepping away from the game. I was stepping it up. And I think, and I know that was because I felt so happy. I was loved, I was accepted, I was maximizing my potential because I was 100% myself every single day. And you could see it. You could see it on the field, you could see it off the field. My voice got louder in terms of advocacy and activism. I was a walking rainbow, essentially. And I stopped caring what other people thought. For a lot of people, I'm sure it's too much. Like, just chill out, Joe. I'm not going to do that. So it enabled me to really, again, to go higher in my life and expand my viewpoints and open up my heart and open up my mind to what was possible. So every Pride Week, I would get the Human Rights Campaign symbol on my head, and I would basically wrap myself in rainbow. And it was just an incredible way that I was able to self-express. And I shared that self-expression. I shared the joy of who I was. And I think people love that. People love joy. People love to see you happy. I've had so many comments where people say to me, Joe, there's nothing better than watching you live your life because you're just so happy. And it's genuine and it's authentic because, again, I'm able to be this person, and I'm privileged and I'm lucky to be able to be this person. Again, building these shoulders so I can be stronger for someone else to stand on, and understanding that I've been standing on shoulders my entire life. But as I started to really, I'm emboldened. I was starting to really push a ton of boundaries. And as you can see, probably through these photos, my expression of my gender became a bit more masculine, right? As the mohawk went to the johawk and it got a little bit shorter, I was starting to express myself in different ways. And I found that as I started to push boundaries in terms of my sexual identity and my sexual preference, I was getting a ton of resistance in terms of how I was expressing my gender. And I've realized that, I live in a very safe space. I live in a great city that's accepting, and I come from an amazing family, and I play a sport where being gay is accepted, almost assumed. So I'm very safe. So being gay, I haven't necessarily gotten much resistance from that. But I've started to learn about the resistance I've gotten from expressing my gender. I'm too masculine. I'm too muscular. How can you call yourself a woman? And it's been an interesting journey for me because when I talk about accepting yourself for 100% of who you are, I'm gay. I'm very gay. I accepted that piece of me. But the gender part, kind of threw me for a loop. I would walk into women's bathrooms and people would do a double take. I would walk into locker rooms and I would feel incredibly uncomfortable. Going through airports is one of the most uncomfortable situations for me because they're so gender-based. And I would get stares and I would get looks and I'd get people to come up to me and they would say, you're in the wrong bathroom. And I would look them in the eye because I've started to understand that people fear what they don't know. And I am something that people don't understand. I don't fit into the box of what gender looks like. I don't fit into the box of what a woman necessarily should be. So I would look in the eye and I would say hello, and I would try to humanize what a label is. As soon as you put a human face to a label, people start to understand it a bit more. People fear it less. And they start to look at you and they start to hear your story. And I have a very powerful story from 2016. So whenever the resistance came from strangers, I understood it. And it still hurt, right? It still hurt to be called a boy. It still hurt to be confused for a man and called sir when I was going through the airport. But I had a situation where it came from my own family. And for me, that was a moment that changed my life. And I was asked to speak at the Washington National Opera before an opera in 2016 called Champion. It was about a closeted gay black boxer in the 1960s who was famous, true story, he was famous for killing one of his opponents in the 11th round. And he was famous for saying, I killed a man and everyone loved me. I loved a man and everyone wanted to kill me. So they asked me to speak before the opera to a group of, it's the opera, so probably, white, wealthy, middle-aged people, and, my mom's age, essentially. And I was speaking at the Kennedy Center, which is a pretty prestigious building in Washington, D.C., and I thought to myself, wow, my mom is going to be very proud of me. So I told my mom, and, the first thing she said to me is, honey, what are you going to wear? And I said, I don't know, I'll figure it out, Mom. Like, it's not that big of a deal. And she had a couple friends that had performed at the Kennedy Center, and so she consulted with them, and she comes back to me a couple days later. And she says, Joe, I think you should wear a dress. And that just hit me to my core. And I thought, haven't we made it past, when was the last time I wore a dress, Mom? 2007 at a wedding, because I had to. And I held most of my sadness and my disappointment inside. And credit to my mother. She's a beautiful, beautiful human, and I understand it takes time to really accept and understand this journey that I've been on. So I thought to myself, I'm really sad about this, and I'm sad that I felt like we had regressed multiple stages from where I thought I was going. And I thought, at least in my family, I'm accepted, I'm understood. And then she said, I think you should wear a dress. And immediately I go out to Nordstrom's and buy these amazing suits. And I get them tailored to fit me like a glove. And you can see it here. The lighting's not great. And I knew when I spoke at the opera, I was going to respond to my mom in a way in front of the audience. And I was going to express my feelings and my thoughts on what beauty is. So the night comes around, and there's my mom and my father and my best friend, Charlotte. And she comes to pick me up, and she's like, Joe, you look great. And I was like, thanks, Mom. And I sit in front of the audience, and there's 3 of us. And someone asks in the audience, and they say, has anyone ever said anything to you that they try to instigate you on the field or try to really discriminate or use words to put you down? And I thought, okay, this is my moment right here. And I said to them what I say to you guys today. I said, I don't feel like I get discriminated much because of my sexual preference, because of being gay. I think I face a ton of discrimination and resistance every single day about how I express my gender. And I said, I know that there are people in this audience today that think she would be so much prettier if she grew her hair out, if she wore a dress, if she didn't have such big muscles. And I said, there's people on this planet that can do pretty way better than I ever could. I have been put on this planet to be strong and to show that strong is sexy, to be fit, to sweat, to push the boundaries of what a woman can look like, and to expand the definition of what gender is. I said, it's not our jobs to define what beauty is for anyone else. It is our own job. And for me, sitting up here in that suit with my mohawk, I said, this is how I feel beautiful. This is how I feel sexy. And you can see it and you can feel it. And it's an aura that someone gives off because they are comfortable in their own skin. And everyone just started clapping. I think it was a pretty powerful moment for them. And, my mom, just taking photos, ruining the moment, flashes going off, you're not supposed to. And afterwards, she comes up to me and she says, she looks at me, and it was a neat moment for her because she sees people that look like her and that probably are the same social class as her and are at the Kennedy Center, and they're coming up to me and they're saying thank you. They don't have to say anything else but that. They just say thank you. And I know why they're thanking me. And then another man comes up and says, my son has a mohawk just like you. And she sees this, and she sees the reaction, and she sees people, the way they look at me and react to me. And she comes up to me and she says, Joe, you were speaking to me, weren't you? And I said, yeah, Mom, I was. And she said, I get it. I finally get it. And so it took a situation like that where I almost had to speak to her indirectly for her to understand that I am allowed to define my own beauty. Everyone in this audience is allowed to define their own beauty. And it may not look what everyone else thinks it's going to look like. But if I feel it and I live it, then that essentially is how I'm going to feel beautiful. And that's a really important message that I want to send you guys today about coming out. Coming out is about finding your own beauty, defining your own journey, understanding that it's okay to be different. It's not cool to fit in anymore, right? Like, I don't want to fit into these boxes that society gives us. I want to stand out. I want to blaze trails. I want to feel uncomfortable so someone else behind me with a mohawk feels a little bit more comfortable. And it's a cool journey that I've been on, and this next video can kind of show you where I've come to 2018. This was a video that Lifetime did on my career this past season. I now have the nickname Rainbow Warrior, so I have gone from Joe and the Mohawk to the Joe Hawk to the Rainbow Warrior. So it's been an incredible journey, and here's a little video that can show you guys.
I call myself the Rainbow Warrior. I have this superhero mentality. It pretty much encompasses everything that I believe in. Becoming an advocate was a really organic process for me because as a professional athlete, you have an incredible platform to make an impact. By living openly and honestly as a gay woman, I am able to make an impact by making other people feel comfortable in their own skin.
I'm an advocate for gender equality because I want to be a voice for so many women who are forced into silence. For human rights, because I am a believer that we are all equal. For the gay community, because I believe love is love. I'm an advocate for self-acceptance because I believe everyone should have the ability to define their own beauty. You know, the power of my voice comes from my parents from a very young age. They loved me unconditionally, and they raised me to believe that I was important and worthwhile, and that voice needed to be heard. Right now, we are a society that's quite polarized, and we immediately look at our differences, and I try to live my life with joy and happiness and love to show that that alone can unite us. When I was younger, I had a fortune cookie and it said, "You can change the world by just being happy." And that really struck me because I think it's true. I'm a kid who's never grown up, and I love that about myself. I do handstands on the soccer field. I dance with the soccer ball. I sing, I play instruments. So I'm not very good. I can't actually play any of the instruments well, but I'm a big believer in effort. Sign me to a contract, please, anyone? I play a game for a living. It's the greatest thing in the entire world. Playing a sport forces you to fall down and to pick yourself back up again. It teaches you to be a good winner and a good loser. And as a team sport, you have to work with one another to achieve a common goal. And I think that's a great representation of what life should be. You know, my hope is that we can all live with a little bit more love and to show compassion. And yes, we are different, but those differences should be celebrated as opposed to broken down and criticized. And if we can all love ourselves and truly accept who we are for 100% of our faults and our flaws and our assets and give that back to each other, I think the world can be a much better place.
So we stand on the shoulders of the generations that come before us, one by one, and for centuries, and that is how we create social progress. When I see all of you guys out there in the audience, and I think about how we can all walk away and be better people and better leaders, I think of this analogy of just putting each other on our shoulders. And it's not easy, and it's uncomfortable, and it's going to hurt, but you have to have the courage to be willing to do it, especially in this day and age where it's no longer okay to be silent, and when we are silent, we are complicit. I really encourage all of you guys to think about what you can do to take care of each other. How can you love yourself more? How can you love one another more? How can you love Qualcomm more? How can you be a better leader? How can you be a better brother, a better sister, a better father, a better mother, a better partner? And to be the change that you want to see in this world. It's been an incredible honor to stand in front of you guys today and to share this story. My 5 coming out moments, as you can see, it's been a journey for me. I'm still trying to figure things out. I'm still trying to find out who I am, what I'm capable of, but I'm most proud of knowing that it's been a struggle, and I've gotten through that struggle, and I've gotten through that struggle because I know that I'm not alone, and I know that on National Coming Out Day, none of us are alone, and that together we are so much stronger than we are as individuals. And if we try to stand and we are isolated and we are alone, we will not accomplish very much. If we take what Billie Jean King says and we put one another on our shoulders, then that's how we are going to reach higher. So thank you guys for having me today, and thank you for allowing me to show you the shoulders that I have stood on. And I offer you my own shoulders, and I hope that you guys all walk away today offering each other your own shoulders. So thank you. We have definitely time for 10 minutes for questions, and I'm an open book, so don't feel like you can't ask anything. Don't be shy.
Can I abuse my right for a mic runner? So I have a question. I love your ability and your your drive to challenge expectations with your look. And I'm wondering if you can I know you touched on that quite a bit, but I'm wondering if you can share like any more stories, if you've seen anybody else being willing to challenge expectations with their look after seeing you, anything like that, because I don't know, that's my favorite part.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I think one of the neat things about playing again in Washington, D.C., and for my parents and my friends, they were able to see people's reaction to me, right? I would play on the field, but it was the off-the-field moments that really resonated. And you would see young girls run up to me and they said, I really want to get your mohawk. And I'm like, ask your mom. And their parents were like, sure, honey. Yeah, you would see that, emulation is the highest form of flattery. And people they would want to be around me. They would want to style their hair like me. And I've gotten incredible feedback. I think this is what makes me so brave and coming out and being visible, is that I get feedback on the weekly basis about how much of a difference I am making in people's lives. I had a message recently from a girl who's probably 14 or 15, and she said, I always looked up to you as a soccer player, but only recently did I look up to you as a rainbow warrior because I didn't know. And now I understand and I see you, and seeing you be so visible and so confident and strong in who you are enables me to have a little bit more confidence in my own journey. So yeah, I've been so lucky to get that sort of feedback. And you saw that young boy who always wears his hair like a mohawk, and I'm an aunt to 5 nieces and nephews. And when I think about, kind of the legacy I want to leave, I want my nieces and my nephews to be proud of me. And I want my nieces' lives to be better because of the situations and the trails that I was able to blaze for them. I want them to be able to play in the playground. I want them to, be empowered because they deserve that.
What is the best way of dealing with people whose expectations you don't match? They might bully you a lot,
yeah,
and you might answer back at them, but then it might just aggravate the situation. So what is the best way of doing that?
That's a great question. I do a lot of work with the State Department. I do, you could see some photos in the videos of, I'm going to Africa on Sunday. I'm going to Niger, which was ranked in 2016 the worst place in the world to grow up as a girl. And I do a lot of work overseas. So I face a lot of resistance in different ways. And recently I had a group of coaches come over from Indonesia. And I was sitting at the front of the group of coaches, and one of them said, I didn't say I was gay. I mean, I think you can just look at me and assume it, but I didn't say that yet. And one of them said, I don't agree with people who are gay on my team. I don't want them on my team. What do I do about that? And I was taken aback because I'm so used to a lot of the support, and I'm like, wow, this person is really just like putting her hand in my face right here. And as much as that hurt, I realize now that, again, people fear what they don't know. And I think one of the greatest things about my career is that hopefully I open people's eyes and I open their mind. And they see me and they're like, okay, she seems kind of cool. I think she's gay, but she seems like a normal human being that just wants to be loved and accepted. And I said to this coach, and I said, your job as a coach is to build an environment where people feel safe and they feel comfortable. And if you don't, let's say you have these views where you don't support someone who is gay, how are you showing that? Are you favoring other players? Are you putting them down? Are you bullying them? And I said, it's not their choice, right? It's something that they were born with and they're trying to express. And as a job of a coach, you're not doing your job if you're not allowing your players to be themselves. And I didn't get angry. I didn't get upset. I just spoke to her. I looked her in the eye, and afterwards she's like hitting me up on Instagram and all that kind of stuff. So, you hope that you change people's minds, but at the same time, you do understand that not everyone is going to accept you. And I think to myself, I'm proud of this resistance, because if I didn't get this resistance, then I'm not making the difference that I want to make, because that means that I'm doing the right thing. No social justice movement has been faced by zero resistance, right? Every single movement has been started by single impassioned individuals who are willing to put themselves through a fire to get to the other side and to help people behind them. So I think for me, it's an understanding, it's a kindness, it's a patience, and it's just wanting to tell them my side of the story, I think.
Just a comment. Thank you for coming out and talk to everybody at Qualcomm. This was awesome. Thank you for the effort that you're putting into this, and passion really comes through. I'm hoping that more people at Qualcomm get to see this presentation. Hopefully we're recording it. And I think we need to have a national Be Different Day. Because I think a lot of when I look at and watch your presentation, a lot of this is just about being different. And a lot of people at work here, maybe they're not gay, but they're just different. And they need to feel comfortable. They need to be brave to come into work, and they need to be brave about wearing different clothes, the non-traditional clothes, and express themselves the way they want to be expressed. And so that's another dimension. I would love the rest of Qualcomm to see the presentation and say, be comfortable, be brave, and come be who you are. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. I think, as you've seen through my career, I had a career resurgence when I finally was willing to be brave enough to really express myself. I was better on the field. I scored more goals than I had in my entire career. My team made it to the championship. I started 18 of 21 games. It was the best year of my life. And I think it's because I had an organization that supported me. I had teammates that supported me, and I was willing to just be myself. And I think that's when you truly maximize who you are and truly maximize the human potential. And your company is essentially it's human potential.
You mentioned Billie Jean King. One of the things she did was continue after her professional career in sports, a very active life of activism and being involved in community issues, and LGBT issues. At 36, you must be, I'm not going to predict here, but you must be seeing an end to that professional career. Do you see some future? Where do you see yourself going and staying involved in the movement?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think that, I love the game of soccer. And I love the game of soccer because of the lessons it teaches and the barriers that it's able to break down. So the work that I do where I use soccer as a vehicle for social change, that's really something I want to carry on in my career. So the work that I do with the Department of State, where I travel overseas and I run empowerment programs for youth. I'm going to be running an empowerment program in Niger for the young women in Africa. And I want to continue just advocating and, being an activist for the causes that I believe in and for social justice. So, standing up here today and sharing my story, why is it prevalent? And also, too, holistically speaking, trying to tie that into what does it mean in corporate America? What does it mean for all of you guys sitting out there? How can it help you? And how can it help all of us to really just accept who we are and find the beauty in a world that seems very dark at the moment?
I've got a question. When do you have any thoughts on male sports, and when do you think that they'll have the opportunity to actually come out? And there's not a lot of professional males in sports that feel comfortable, and it doesn't look like there's a landscape for that. I mean, what are your thoughts on the male side of the sports and coming out?
Yeah, it's almost apples and oranges. So as a female professional athlete, it's almost assumed that you are gay. In the men's world, obviously it's the opposite. It's a very masculine, macho culture. We just recently had, it's going to be a mouthful, but the first ever team athletes on the men's side came out. So a player in the MLS, Minnesota United, he is the first in the entire world to be a gay male professional athlete in a team sport. So I'd like to believe that it's happening, but I still think we're very far behind. I think MLS, which is the Major League Soccer league in our states, I think it's a very progressive sport. It's a progressive league. Unfortunately, a lot of these leagues that men play in are old, and they've been around for centuries, and they're quite conservative. And social justice as a whole has been lacking. So I think you're going to see more projects pop up. I did an event with the NFL in June. It was the first ever LGBTQ conference in the NFL with the Minnesota Vikings. I think it happened because they got sued, but at the same time it happened, right? So, you're starting to get into these spaces, and I think people are starting to understand that it's not okay anymore to be jerks. It's not okay to bully. It's not okay to have exclusive environments where people don't feel safe. And I distinctly remember a player, his name is Sarah Tuolo. He is now out. He played for the Minnesota Vikings. And he said, so he wasn't out during his career. And he said every time he tackled the quarterback and he sacked the quarterback and people cheered, he said, I didn't know if they were cheering for me or if they found out I was gay and they were booing me. And he said, I would have been such a better athlete if I would have been able to be out, because I lived far away from everybody else. I didn't want them popping up to my house just in case. And I was really, I was divided from the team. So I think if we consistently send these messages that like you will maximize human potential if we allow each other to be 100% ourselves, then I think slowly we will get there. Obviously, change overnight is a revolution. Change over time is what we're looking at. It's going to take generations, but hopefully with us in these spaces and people demanding it and people really loving each other and finding that acceptance, it'll slowly happen. Everybody wants lunch. Yeah. We're hungry.